Yeah, it's so handy. So, shall we get started?
Go for it.
So, hello and welcome. This is Jack Daly, who's come across all the way from the States, but you've just been through Australia?
Yeah, we made the run through Australia. We were in Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. Yeah. And I call it practicing for New Zealand.
Very good. We want you to do the failures over there. But you've actually been to New Zealand a few times now?
Yes, this is my fourth visit.
Yeah.
And the first time I came here, I remember I spoke in Auckland, but before I spoke here, I went down to the south part of the island.
Very good.
And did the bungee jump. Came back and said, well, I didn't want to show up in front of an audience of Kiwis and not have bungeed. And everybody in the audience went, you did that?
That doesn't surprise me. But that's what we were renowned for.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've read all your stuff, watched all your videos. I've known about you for some time, so it's a real pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I've got lots here, and I've just broken them up into segments, and we'll just kind of go through them. It's just casual, colloquial style.
Yeah.
The key is for the viewers just to get that, that little ounce which changes their day.
Yeah, that's good.
So, just number one, do you remember your first sales call?
My first sales call? Absolutely.
Can you tell us a bit about
so I don't want to go too long on this.
No.
But here's the deal. 7 years old, and
7.
I owned the market and charged twice the price of everybody that I competed with. And what I did is I saw little girls making pot holders, and selling them to moms and grandmoms.
Yeah.
Well, I decided they were easy to make, and no little boy was selling them. And I would go up to each mom and grandmom, and they'd say, well, I already bought it from Mary, Sally, and Susie. And I'd say, yeah, but you haven't bought a pot holder from a little boy because I'm the only little boy that makes them. You need to buy at least one, if not 2 pot holders from a little boy. And besides, no one else is going to try to sell you one of these.
Yeah.
And all of them bought my pot holders. And I charged twice the price because here's a lesson in sales. If you're doing something that no one else is doing, you can charge whatever you want for it. And so that was really my
How
first
did you
sales.
learn this at 7? This is astounding.
Well, it's in the genes, as they say,
really?
right? So it just kind of emerged. But I've never worked a day in my life.
Yeah.
I really, truly have. All I do is have fun.
Yeah.
And I've spent my whole life building businesses. At the age of 12, I had a newspaper route.
Yeah.
And I inherited it from some kid.
Yeah.
And there were 32 customers. And it was L-shaped. Yeah. And you picked up the papers at the beginning of the L, and then you went down to this corner and you turned, and then you ended at his house where he lived with his parents.
Yeah.
And he walked the route with me for 2 days. On the second day, I asked him, who delivers to the papers further down the street?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I don't even know if they get it. So I called up the newspaper company and said, can I have 10 free newspapers a day? I want to do some prospecting. And they said, sure. And a year later, I had 275 customers.
Oh, what?
And it was in the northeast part of the United States. So we're talking cold and wet and snow and wind and dark. And so I liked the money, but I didn't like the work. I liked the money and didn't like the work. And so I came up with an approach where I hired five kids that were under 12 years old, because you had to be 12 to have your own newspaper out. And I gave them 1 year of on-the-job training and split up the papers amongst the 5 of them, and the only thing I did was collect.
Yeah.
And so they did all the work, and I kept 70% of the money.
So here you are at 12.
And that's my first business.
With a team of staff.
Absolutely. And I became the super sales guy.
Yeah.
And then the newspaper company was so impressed that they hired me every Saturday to take 5 kids out on caravan and show them how to do door-to-door sales.
Wow.
And that was when I was 13. So it's just all just having fun. I just want to do a deal and figure out how to make the customer feel good and make me feel good. And walking up to someone and saying, here's a paper for 5 days, it's completely free, and on Friday I'm going to come back and see if you want to sign up for 13 weeks. And if I can get enough people to be satisfied with this paper, and I think it's a great paper, I'll win prizes and awards and trips, and so we all win. So I'll see you Friday and enjoy the week's paper. And you're a kid. It's tough to refuse you, right?
Yeah, it's tough to refuse an ambitious little kid. Oh, it's $5. Yeah, we'll do that.
It's tough to. How about this? I think it's tough to refuse a salesperson that's an adult that has energy and excitement about what they do in their product or service.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So
this kind of leads into my next question. Now, I've seen this on your website. Can you tell us a little bit about the spinach story? Because I didn't even realise you were doing sales at 7 and 12, but the spinach story blew me away. And so we've gone from 7 to 12, and I think the spinach story is when you're 17.
Yeah, now we're going to go to 17.
So let me just position this. This is before anyone else in the world has started sales.
So I'm in a union grocery store, and I'm a stock boy. I just stock grocery shelves with product. And it's mandatory 15-minute break. I got to go out and take my break, whether I want to or not. It's part of the union. Yeah. And I come back in, and there's this older woman. She's got to be in her 80s, and she's complaining to the vegetables and having this terrible conversation. I came over and asked her, what the story was, and she said she came in for spinach, and there wasn't any. And I looked at the rack, and there wasn't. And I looked in the back, and there wasn't any back there. So I said, well, how long are you going to be in the store? Did you just come in for the spinach? And she said, no. I plan to do some other shopping. I'll be here for a good 30 minutes or so. Yeah. So I said, well, then we're in great shape. You go get your rest of your shopping done. I'll have your spinach before you're finished. And now I'm in a panic, like, where the heck am I going to get this spinach? So I got in my car and I rode a couple kilometers away to a competitor. I went in and bought 6 bags of fresh spinach, and she was in the checkout line. Yeah. And I came over and I said, how does this look? And she said, that looks exactly what I want. I said, how many bags would you like? She says, I only need 1. I said, take 2. Yeah. They're on us. We really appreciate your loyalty to our store. Wow. And unfortunately, in too many businesses today, that employee that gave that spinach away would be fired. Mm. They didn't have authority. They weren't empowered. And all I did was said, if the store owner were here, what would that store owner would have done? Yeah. And I think they would have done what I did. Yeah. And I was telling this story to a big group of owners of businesses over in Scotland about a year and a half ago. And this gentleman raised his hand and he said, Jack, my friend, you are in Scotland. 2 bags of spinach? Maybe 1, but not 2. So it's just I'm wired and I think I teach people the wiring, but I'm wired to say, operate this as if it was your own business. What would you do? Yeah. Right? If I were in the newspaper business, I would give a paper away every day for 5 days if I could win somebody over and have them pay for 13 weeks. Yeah. And then once they were 13 weeks, they're probably going to re-up for more. That would make business sense to me. Yeah. So, and the customer doesn't lose. So it's just it's trying to do things that are, I guess, different. I would have said perceived different in the market from other people, but actually make tons of sense.
Yeah. Does it frustrate you that this is perceived different when really this should be the norm?
Well, it can be frustrating. I used the spinach story in my own companies, and I built 6 international firms in the U.S. I told that story everywhere I went, all the time, and to my employees, and said, what I want you to do in our company is look for the opportunities to give the spinach away. We have to articulate over and over, give people the freedom to do these things, right? So it's frustrating, but I'll also share with you one of the things my wife Bonnie tells me, and she says, look, if everybody were doing the things that you do naturally, if they were doing them also, then it would make your excellence that much more harder to obtain.
Yeah, well, then it will become the norm,
right?
And then you've got to raise the bar
more
again.
Game. That's exactly right. Right. So if you think of Sir Richard Branson, right, and you think about all the things he's done with Virgin, and the brand, and the things he's done with the Virgin Company, he's a guy that's wired, or I'm a guy that's wired like him, or he's a guy that's wired like me. That we view these things as being shouldn't this be the norm?
Yeah.
And that causes his company to stand out from the competitors. There's a success story in the States that is just remarkable, and it's the Zappos story.
Yeah.
And
I've got the book at home.
well, you'll be amazed at of the things that Tony will share with you there, the founder. But a 10-year-old company was built from scratch and sold for $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the secret to Zappos is it's a customer service company that happens to sell, and they're always teaching their people to act in the best interest of the customer. Tony believes in giving the spinach away big time.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to order shoes online from Zappos, you can order as many sizes and as many colors and as many styles because it's free shipping both ways.
Wow.
To get them and to get returned.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: you have someone that orders 10 pairs of shoes, and let's say they're going to order them pretty much in the same size but lots of different styles. Chances are they're going to keep 3, send 7 back, and they would have never called initially or gone online to order shoes from them, and they would have probably purchased 1 pair. So he views the shipping cost as his marketing, and that ends up becoming word of mouth marketing. And so it's just a trade-off, right?
Yeah, Zappos are amazing. I heard a story, I think it was about 3 years ago. There's a lady in New York, and I think Zappos have a 7-day return policy. So every Sunday, she'd jump on and order 5 different pairs of shoes, wear a different pair each day during the week, send them back the next weekend, they'd receive the return, order another set of shoes. So every day of the week of the year, and they knew she was doing this, but they let it slide.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you can imagine all the compliments you would have. You've got new shoes again. Where'd you get those from?
There's a fairly large chain of retail stores in the United States called Pier 1. A friend of mine built that company. His name's Clark Johnson. Clark and I were having this discussion, and he created a policy in the company where the store managers were empowered and told if a customer comes in and says, I didn't like this product or service, or they didn't care for whatever in whatever way, unhappy in any way, full refund, no questions asked, don't even need the receipt.
Yeah.
The anecdotal part of the story is that he said that they took back about $500,000 in merchandise each year that they never sold in the stores. That was someone else's.
Yeah.
But there was no argument, we'll just take it back. And he viewed that was marketing cost. No different than Zappos is viewing it as marketing cost. The goodwill, the word of mouth, all of those good things.
Yeah.